In January of 2014, Ford blew away the automotive world by announcing a new 2015 Ford F-150 was going to have a body that was built out of aluminum. This just drove people crazy. I remember being there and just the shock of it. People thought that you can't do aluminum that much in scale. People thought you can't build trucks for the price point without using it more expensive aluminum ore. And then finally people thought you can't repair it. Repairing aluminum is more expensive. It's just going to cause all these nightmares. Well, it turns out 5 years later now, the critics were wrong. We finally have some data showing the repair costs of the new 2015 F-150 of aluminum. Not really new anymore. And we're going to get to those numbers coming up right now. Hey, it's Tim Estrell, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and my passion is trucks and SUVs. If that's your passion too, hit subscribe below, hit bell notification to be notified new videos put out, like this one. So this news actually broke last week, but I kind of was tied to some other things, didn't quite get to it, so I hope you don't mind the delay. Autonews.com, I give these guys lots of credit. They dug a little bit deeper than I could, and they got some data from, I'm going to get this exact, from the Highway Loss Data Institute. The story is on pickuptrucktalk.com. We're going to go ahead and look that up. It's an affiliate of the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. And this group, what they do is they look at highway loss data. They look at repairability costs. And they looked at the repairability costs of the aluminum truck versus the steel truck to figure out, was there this big increase in costs? As you guys may recall back then, there's a couple things that happens with aluminum. Is first of all, aluminum doesn't get repaired as well as steel does. It doesn't hold the shape as well. Also, that in repair body shops, that Ford was announcing that to dealers and giving them credits and loans and all sorts of stuff to build two different body shops, one for aluminum and one for steel. There was a concern about cross-contamination between the metals. If you use a steel hammer-on aluminum part, it's going to corrode faster than if you use aluminum and aluminum. If you just use aluminum hammer, you get the point. So let's get back to the Auto News story. So what we have here is we have data from that institute that talks about the repair cost of the aluminum truck versus steel truck. And I'm going to read this quote. So I'm going to look down from the camera. I'm going to read this quote. The quote says, collision claim severity for aluminum F-150s is roughly 7% lower than on the steel predecessor, which would be the 2014 F-150, in part because of cheaper repairs. But the frequency of collision claims has risen about 7%, resulting in an unchanged overall loss. So, you have more collision claims, but you have cheaper repair costs. And so this really goes against grain when people were thinking about this truck. They were thinking it's going to be so much higher, so much more expensive. And so you really got to dig down to why this is. There's a couple key reasons for this. First of all, I've been doing body work for a year now, not well. But one of the things I learned with body work is a lot of repair shops around here, and especially in major cities, they're not repairing the parts as much as you would think they used to anymore. Nobody's banging on metal like they used to. Nobody's pulling out with stud guns like they used to. What they're doing is just ordering new panels. And you can get new body panels for a lot cheaper. For example, I'm repairing a door in a 66 Chevy C10. For me to repair the door is going to take me 20, 30 hours of work. Or I can buy the new body skin for that door for $60. So I'm buying the body skin, pulling out the bad one, putting on a new one. I mean, it just makes a lot of sense, and the same thing's happening in the body repair world. And so when Ford designed the F-150, they kind of thought this through on that aspect of it, and the truck is made to be, the panels come off and are like plug and play. They swap them out. And so that reduces your repair costs because you're not spending so much labor hours to bang out the old aluminum. Like again, aluminum doesn't hold the shape as well as steel does. You're not banging out that metal as much, is my point here. So you get the new body panel in, you're going to prep it, you're going to paint it, and you're going to take and replace it and put it on. And so what they did, Ford engineers knowing this, is they made the truck be easier to swap things on and off. So there's the story about the fenders, and the fenders is in the story. And what they figured out was the Data Loss Institute found out that the replacement time for the front fenders for the aluminum truck is 6 or 7 hours less than the steel one because they made it easier to repair. They made it easier to get those bolts off to swap it out. And so that's just one example. Another example was the front apron tubes, which is the metal tubes below the hood. Used to involve taking the A-pillar apart, the dash out, getting all that stuff out to get those apron tubes off, and they changed that. You don't do that anymore. You just unbolt them and you swap them out. So a lot of forward thinking, but to be able to do this, they had to spend a couple of years before they brought the truck to marketplace to really go through and design every nut and bolt to make sure it's easy to get repaired. Most companies don't do that. Most companies have a group of engineers. They move around from different vehicles, and they engineer each vehicle one by one. So Ford was able to spend a lot more time and money to make this truck meet those needs, which that's very important. The second reason why they've been able to do this is they do a lot of recycling. And I have some B-roll I'll show you here of the Dearborn assembly plant, and they do a lot of recycling of it. So when they cut that sheet metal for the aluminum metal, for the body panels, they take the scrap and actually recycle it. Aluminum is infinitely recyclable, and in fact, up to 75% of all aluminum that's been used in the world is still in use today. And 100% of that is still recyclable. It still retains its shape and its characteristics even after you recycle it. And so what Ford is doing is taking the scrap, they're recycling that, and allows them to keep the overall cost down of parts because they're using recycled scrap or they're using new aluminum, but they're able to keep the parts down because they don't have to worry about the integrity of the metal. They don't have to worry about that stuff because aluminum retains its characteristics no matter how often you recycle it. So those are the two main reasons why repair costs have been lower. Now that also means that the repair cost of parts is lower. So the HLDI, I'm going to say it that way, Highway Loss Data Institute, found that total parts for a 2015-2016 aluminum F-150 were 16% less than a 2014 steel pickup. So that means when you bought your fender for the newer model was cheaper than the older model, and you could replace it faster and with less labor time. So there you go. There's why the repair costs are lower. But this is really interesting because I remember being a journalist back in the day when this truck came out, and you had Edmunds with the sledgehammer. We all remember that one. They took a sledgehammer to F-150, and there was issues about finding repair shops and horror stories of repair shops going to be 300 miles away. And Ford really went through and spent a lot of time putting together data sheets and really discussing this. This issue came out after the truck was unveiled and became this whole balloon issue and really got the PR team to get engaged. And they had to really get people's attention and put out different stories and put out different press releases and try to get people's attention to saying it's not that big of a deal because we tended to blow it up. And so I thought it was really interesting. I thought this story was worthwhile doing a video because it's something I would search for, certainly. You have Ford is the only truck manufacturing right now today that is all aluminum, body panels and everything. A lot of trucks are doing the hood and they'll do whatever swings, like Chevy's new Silverado. Whatever swings is aluminum. So doors, hoods, tailgate, all aluminum. But the rest of the truck is steel. And so a lot of manufacturers are taking a little bit of aluminum. They're putting a little bit of aluminum in their products. Aluminum hoods have been around for a long time. But Ford is the first one to ever go full aluminum. They were able to drop 700 pounds on their crew cab biggest truck. And when you look at aerodynamics, trucks are still a brick on the road. And the more weight you get out of them, the better fuel efficiency you will get from that truck and the better gains you'll get for aerodynamics. Because it's just a weight issue, because it's a brick in the road. That's what it is. So hey, if you found this video informative and you enjoy this kind of content, hit subscribe below, hit bell notification to be notified of new videos I put out, again like this one. Make sure you find us on pickuptrucktalk.com. This story is on pickuptrucktalk.com as well. I'll put a link down below if you want to read it, basically read it to you. And make sure you find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Type in Pickup Truck Talk. We're there. Trust me. I've done it. We're there. We are. Trust me. We're there. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you down the road.